Novel title, Hail the King. Chapter 20, Oscar-worthy acting. Fei traced the source of the sound. At the corner on his right-hand side, a thin, red-haired little girl was holding someone while crying. Fei took a closer look. The person who the little girl was holding was the severely wounded Pierce. The second commander of the king's guards, Brooke, was beside them looking worried. He kept talking to the little girl to comfort her. "Your Majesty." After seeing Fei, Brooke was excited. He stood up and bowed. "Did you find a cure?" He looked at Fei nervously. He was afraid that Fei would shake his head and say something disappointing. Pierce was at his limit. He could probably hold on another 10 minutes, but that would be it. Fei saw the humble Brooke getting extremely nervous and decided to tease him a little. He didn't respond to Brooke's question. Instead, he pointed at the red-haired little girl. "She is Louise. She is Pierce's daughter, Louise." Brooke tried to hold his anxiety and introduced the little girl to Fei. Fei nodded without saying anything. So this is the daughter that Pierce was worrying about when he was severely injured. Fei thought. Unlike Pierce, who was an insensitive tough guy, little Louise was very cute. With tears in her eyes, she could melt everyone's heart. Her red hair was very noticeable too. It reminded Fei of Hermione from Harry Potter. However, Fei felt that Louise wasn't that very approachable as a kid. She was cold and seemed way too mature for a 12-year-old girl. "Are you the one that Uncle Brooke said can save my father?" Although Louise was crying, when she felt someone walking towards her, she looked up. There were still tears in her eyes, and Fei could tell that she was heartbroken. However, she said in a voice unfit for her age, "If you can save my father, I'm willing to be your lover forever." Fei was shocked. He didn't know what to say. "To hell. Are all the kids in this world that precocious? I ain't no harem king." Fei thought to himself. He didn't want to talk to this kid anymore. It was more challenging for Fei to face her than one of the bosses in the Diablo world. Fei sat down beside Pierce, who relapsed into a heavy coma. He took out the minor healing potion and carefully poured one drop of the potion into Pierce's mouth. Whether it would work or not was going to be tested at this moment. Fei was nervous. Brooke and Louise were even more nervous. All three of them stared at Pierce. Their hearts were pounding extremely quickly, hoping that it would work. Time passed slowly. The silence was like poison. No one dared to breathe. Eventually, Pierce, who was struggling to breathe, began inhaling and exhaling rapidly. His pale face was getting red and his wounds were recovering at a ridiculous speed visible to the human eyes. Brooke and Louise were shocked. Their jaws dropped subconsciously. Although they didn't know what the red liquid was that King Alexander dropped into Pierce's mouth, it was super effective. The healing power of the liquid was beyond their wildest dreams. Unimaginable. Spectacular. Unheard of. It was better than any healing spell from the high priests of the Holy Church. Brooke and Louise looked at each other and then stared at Fei. They were almost sure that Fei was a living god. Fei was shocked by the terrifying healing power of the minor healing potion as well. He wasn't expecting that a single drop of the potion could be so effective. Obviously, if Pierce emptied the bottle, he could easily recover 100% and fight another battle. However, the impact of that would be too shocking to everyone around, so Fei didn't do it. Fei observed Pierce's condition. He found that after one drop of the potion, the wounds had all recovered and Pierce's face wasn't that pale anymore, but he was still unconscious. That's probably the max healing one drop can do. This gave Fei a rough measurement of the potion's healing power, so he dropped another drop into Pierce's mouth. The effect was instant this time. As soon as the drop landed in Pierce's mouth, Pierce woke up from the coma. He groaned as he opened his eyes. He was confused when he saw the three of them standing in front of him. He shook his head as he tried to remember what had happened. He remembered that he was about to die, but somehow, the unbearable pain throughout his body stopped and he could breathe again. What happened? After seeing Pierce speak, Brooke was finally relieved. Louise happily shouted as she jumped into the arms of Pierce. At this moment, the 12-year-old girl felt secure and happy like never before. "Father, you're alive. Thank God, the king saved you." Louise couldn't even finish speaking. She was so happy that she started sobbing. It was a terrifying feeling for her to lose the only loved one she had left. It scarred her soul and she didn't want to experience that ever again. Pierce seemed to realize what had happened in his daughter's sobs. The brave warrior didn't say a word. He tightly hugged his daughter. After feeling the fear and excitement in his daughter's face, a drop of the hero's tear fell from his eyes. Fei looked at this happy father and daughter family and smiled. Fei quietly left. He didn't want to interrupt the special moment the family was having. 2 drops of the minor healing potion brought Pierce back from the Grim Reaper's hand. This gave Fei a better understanding of the effectiveness of the potion, similar to the effectiveness in the Diablo world. This made Fei more confident in what he was about to do next. Alexander, the water and the pots are ready. Emma yelled. Angela and Emma each carried a pot of water and rushed over from the back half of the palace. Fei took the pots, one in each hand, and ordered Brooke to get a table. After placing the pots on the table, Fei kneeled before the table. Angela and the rest of the people didn't know what was going on, so they stared with curiosity. Time to show off my acting skills. Fei was laughing on the inside, but he appeared very serious. He placed his palms together in front of his chest and closed his eyes. A strange, mysterious language flew out of Fei's mouth that no one had heard of before. His expression was very serious, as if he was praying to a mysterious god. Although no one understood what the king was talking about, his serious expression influenced the people around him. Angela dragged Emma to kneel down first, and then Brooke and the rest of the people in the palace all kneeled down as well. Fei heard what was happening behind him. He took a peek behind him and had to force himself from laughing. The act must go on. He started his bullshit in English. "D's nuts. I'm the handsome king and you are not. I used to call you on my cell phone. Why you always lying? None of you guys understand me. You don't understand, shit. I got to be serious." After repeating that for a couple times, Fei felt it was enough, so he stood up. All the people behind him stood up as well, confused. Suddenly, Fei pulled out Brooke's sword from the scabbard and cut his palm. Blood spurted out. Fei reached his hand out and let the blood drip into both pots filled with clear water. "Alexander, you!" Angela yelled when she saw Fei's action. She was worried. Fei turned around and smiled at Angela to signal her that everything was under his control. While everyone was staring at his bleeding hand and the two pots, Fei secretly blocked the vision of everyone behind him with his back and opened the bottle containing the minor healing potion. He dumped half of the bottle of potion into the two pots. "O God of War! My brave warriors, you will all be saved. After my prayer, the God was willing to save us all. He has infused his power into my body. Anyone who drinks this blood water filled with the God's power, and all injuries will be recovered." Fei bullshitted even more. He was not ashamed at all. To prove his points, he put his bleeding hand into the water. After 2 seconds, when he pulled his hand out, the wound was recovered, with only a light red scar visible. What? My God. After witnessing the miracle, the crowd went crazy.